Welcome to the Travis Masterbone podcast. I am your host, Travis Masterbone, talking some shit to impact your life. Today's episode is episode 3, titled Atomic Habits and Identity. Quote, "We often seem to dismiss small changes because they don't seem to matter in the moment. Save a little money now, you're still not a millionaire. Go to the gym 3 days in a row, you're still out of shape. Study Mandarin for an hour tonight, and you still don't know the language." End quote from James Clear, author of the book Atomic Habits. This book has really impacted my life tremendously over the last month or so, and it is a great book. I can't recommend it enough. And we are going to dive into some principles today, some tips on how to apply some atomic habits in your life to change your behavior and identity, and I can't wait to go through some of my routines as well. So, this quote speaks volumes because it's true. We truly don't see the benefits or the consequences of our habits until months or years later. And it's pretty crazy. We need to really get in touch and try to be more conscious of what we have been doing and the habits that we have been performing that have been accumulating into the product we are today. So, how do tiny changes that seem to make only modest results? James Clear highlights that these modest results actually turn into remarkable ones. So how does this happen? Why do atomic habits compound into extraordinary changes? Well, they make a huge difference. And no matter what the goal is and what sector it applies in your life, relationships, finances, spiritual awakening, your health, we always have this assumption, I guess, that in order to get massive habits, we have to take these massive steps and these massive actions, right? Remarkable ones. But it's quite the contrary, according to Mr. Clear. The theory in this book is actually quite the opposite. And I would like to say it's kind of like a brick by brick theory. It's the little things, day to day, consistently, diligently, well thought out, that compound over time for these massive results. And this always kind of reminds me, I grew up playing basketball. My favorite player when I first started and was young was Michael Jordan. And then you heard a lot about this from Kobe. It's about mastering the fundamentals, the foundations, and just doing it consistently over time that turned these players into the greatest players ever. And we can apply this in our daily lives, in our careers, etc. And I love how Mr. Clear talks about this. You know, we do fixate on the outcomes, right? And I'm going to talk about goals in just a second, but he kind of goes off on these quotes right here. Your outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits. Your net worth is a lagging measure of your financial habits. Your weight is a lagging measure of your eating and fitness habits. Your knowledge is a lagging measure of your reading and studying habits. Your clutter in your dirty room is a lagging measure of your cleaning habits. And on that one, we can dig a little bit deeper in episode 4, Jordan Peterson and cleaning your room, but I move forward. The whole point of that is you get what you repeat. And just like in that opening quote, over time, we're going to see the results of our habits, good or bad, positively or negatively. They compound into your future self. And so back to goals. Believe it or not, goals are important. We want to have goals in mind. And so a tip from me to you, if you don't have goals, grab a journal, grab a pen, find a quiet space. It could be at a park, in your room. I go to a coffee shop. Sit by yourself, turn your phone off, and think diligently about what you want and who you want to become. Goals are important. I have reminders all over the place in my house. Whiteboards, journals, note cards, dream board. I have all that shit. But in this book, he wants to highlight that it's not necessarily the goals alone that we need to fixate on. It is the systems. So we need to create the systems. So once you figure out your goals and you're still in that coffee shop, create some actionable logical, step-by-step processes that can actually get you there. And this is where the atomic habits come into play. These systems are vital to getting to where you want to be. Both teams, no matter what sport, enter into the game with the goal to win, but we know that one loses and one wins. So one didn't achieve the goal, the other did. So one team failed, even though they had the goal in mind. So the goal alone isn't and can't be the sole metric. Okay? And systems versus goals. When we look at goals, how we define it are about the outcomes you want to achieve, and the systems is just simply how you fucking get there. So while you're at that coffee shop and you figure out those goals, let's start putting together systems that actually get us there. And it's okay to keep the goals in mind. We want to keep those reminders, those visuals, right? But it's important how we link it to our systems, right? And these systems, essentially, when we're talking about atomic habits, the atomic habits are the building blocks to these systems. So figure out your goals, or if you have goals right now, maybe you want to change your goals. Set them honestly. Remind yourself consciously of the goals. If you don't have processes now, create processes, create habits. If you have some right now, which you probably do, you probably have some bad habits, it's okay to highlight those bad habits, trim them up, change your process, adjust your systems on how to achieve these goals. And overall, these processes that we're using, these changes, is essentially what is going to shape your identity. And the shaping of your identity is by far the toughest part. Altering your worldviews, beliefs, your assumptions, your biases. This will be the toughest, but I'll tell you this much. Good or bad, your habits shape your identity. The definition of identity. The fact of being who or what a person or thing is. So I want you to ask yourself, honestly, and go look in that mirror again. Who do you want to become? I've been through this plenty of times in my life. But James Clear in this book uses the example when you ask yourself who you want to become. It's very important how you verbalize it and how you think about it. Say someone comes up, offers you a cigarette, and your goal is to quit smoking. How are you going to respond to this specifically? Are you going to say, no, I'm trying to quit smoking, versus no, I am not a smoker? So which one, the former or the latter, do you think is a bit more effective when it comes to our psychological goals of quitting smoking and our thoughts of ourselves and our identity? It's going to be the latter. I am this. I am that. Shift how you look at yourself. Don't let your old self sabotage your new self. And don't let group identity sabotage that either. You're basically trying to manipulate your individual identity. Create it. As for me, when I read books and listen to books and I fall off, I'm telling you, it's vital that I say, I'm not trying to read books. I don't just read books. I am a reader. When I have some spare time and I'm writing my book, I always say to myself, I am an author. When I record these podcasts, I am a podcaster. And get into that. True behavior change is identity change. And I think it can work wonders and speak volumes when it comes to you and your personal actions and achieving your personal goals and success in life. I agree with Mr. Clear tenfold. He touches base on environment, and this is where we're going to transition into some of my specific routines that I've been getting into over the last month. Environment plays such a heavy role in who you become in regards to your habits and your identity. There's been so many times in my life where I have been in really shitty living situations with terrible roommates that weren't on board with the same objectives and belief systems, you name it. They just weren't on the same page. And it's okay to get away from that. In fact, I highly support it and I encourage it. It might bite, sting, and scare you at first, but you have to be selfish in these circumstances. Change your environment to become who you want to become. It is a very tremendous role that environment plays. And the good news is you don't have to be a victim to it. You can be an architect. Okay, so how am I an architect of my environment? What atomic habits have I implemented that has really worked profoundly lately in regards to my mood, my health, and just overall productivity? First and foremost, the obvious one is my reading. I have been back at it reading 15 to 30 minutes in the evening, 15, 30 minutes in the morning. I go for my walks and I listen to books as well because I am a reader. That is my identity. The night routines are probably the most important and have shown amazing impacts. Going to bed early, I do try to get outside and get some of that sunset light hitting my eyes and kind of setting my body into the evening, cruise control, gearing down, getting into bed at a reasonable hour, 8:30, 9 p.m., since I'm going to be waking early. I get my reading in, I get my journaling in, I do my hot shower, I say my mantras, I do my skincare routine, floss, brush my teeth, and get everything in order. Write out what I'm going to do the next day or for the whole week, specific goals and objectives. Financially, the podcast, my fitness, whatever it may be, you have to get organized the night before. Wake up from the first alarm. I've been waking up before it actually, and it's been phenomenal. But if that alarm goes off, do not hit snooze and do not linger in bed. Get up. If you fall back asleep again, you're going to trick your body into trying to get back into REM sleep. You're going to wake up even more groggy and tired than the initial alarm. Just get up and do it. Make your bed. And I take cold showers for about 3 to 5 minutes while I say my mantras and my gratitudes out loud. I do my skincare again, loving it. And then I go to my journal, make my coffee, go for a walk. And I've been doing vlogs lately, actually. This has been a big accountability thing. I've been recording them on my phone and just keeping them personally for myself. Day 1, I've been doing this, that. Day 2, blah, 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 blah. It's been really good. It's been really helpful. Maybe one day I'll release it down the road, kind of showing you where I was and where I'm at. But it's helped a lot. Another way to shift your environment is, like, for example, for your health, fill your fridge with good food. Put out Tupperware so you can go into the kitchen and say, okay, I got to cook and prep and fill these containers. I leave my supplements out to remind myself to take the supplements. And every morning I try to get a decent amount of water intake. Hydration is very important. And it kind of sets the stage for your mornings. Another way that I shift my environment around is I was kind of slacking on getting this podcast going. And so one day I just reorganized my closet, moved my dresser into the middle of it, put the microphone right on top. And it just reminds me, like, hey, let's get ourselves on this microphone and let's create something great. And then the skincare routine, I leave all my stuff out every night. I look at it, I see it. Okay, let's just go do it. Same with the floss, same with the toothbrush. Some of you, this might be basic, but for others out there struggling, laying that first brick, these little things, these little atomic habits, they really do compound and make you feel good throughout your day. And if you're organized and you have your goals set honestly and they are clear, and then you put together some really reasonable, logical processes on how to achieve these goals and focus on those processes, I don't see how you lose. And this is not a zero-sum game. The pie is big enough for everybody. And what do you have to lose? Honestly, fuck it. Fuck what people think and go for it. Become who you want to become. I'm going to close out with this analogy that James Clear uses in this book about casting votes for your new identity. And he mentions that you don't have to abandon everything that you once were. fine tune it. Be honest and locate bad habits, work at trimming those out, and implementing new, productive, powerful habits that can compound over time, right? Cast votes for your new identity. You don't need to win a unanimous landslide victory. You just need to achieve the majority. And I love that. I really freaking love that. Change your habits, change your life. Again, the book is called Atomic Habits, of course, by James Clear. Just look up videos too. He has good videos, speaking engagements. Take a listen. There's a lot of people that summarize this book. Tons of good stuff. Highly recommend it. And let's close out with that. Thank you again for tuning in to the Travis Masterbone podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, all that shit. And I look forward to you tuning in next time. Farewell.